Sorry, that was loud. Have I tried using a bow? You know, I haven't tried using a bow on guitar. I could do that. I could get out my bow and try to use it. I don't know, maybe I'll do that later, yeah. Is that an 80s model Kramer? Yes, it is. It's a Kramer Pacer. I think it's 1986, if I recall. That's cool. second channel named Shred on Penguins. Yeah, that's funny. Are people saying tune the guitar? Yeah, it's somewhat out of tune, I know. It's a Floyd Rose, so I'm not gonna, like, sit here and tune it. I probably should have tuned it before, but whatever. play Gerudo Valley. Darn, I don't think I could play it from ear. Like, I can hear it, but I don't think I could play it. I might be able to play Lost Woods, though. Well, I think that was... I could try to get it better. I might be able to. Well, I don't think I've listened to that in like a year at most, so I guess Lost Woods is just one of those tunes that it's like, you hear it and you just remember it. Sunburst Strat that you sold. That sucks. That sucks that you sold it, but I get it. What was the first song I heard that made me want to play guitar? That's a good question. I have to think about that for a second. Um, hmm. Probably something by Van Halen. Probably like Ain't Talking About Love or something like classic like that if I had to guess. I don't know. All of that like classic like 70s and 80s stuff. Oh, I don't know, like Sultans of Swing maybe. All of those classics. Honestly, I do less like song learning and more just like guitar as an instrument that goes into other music. Um, which is why like I don't know, if you're listening to me practice, like a lot of what I'm doing is like messing with sounds and, you know, messing with melodies so that I can kind of, I don't know, develop melodies and that sort of thing, rather than like trying to sit here and like learn a precise song. Um, I don't know. I sort of had my share of like song learning when I learned violin, and that was like, um, I don't know if any of you guys have done like classical music, but a lot of classical music is very strict, and it's very much like you don't experiment with the music at all. You just kind of do it exactly as the interpretation that you've chosen has done it, and the interpretations that you can select from are like any famous performance from like, you know, the 1900s basically. So yeah, classical music has like no freedom. So when I started learning guitar, it was really to use it in other music, like I don't know, my ambient and electronic stuff pretty much, rather than like to learn songs in a strict way. You've never been able to grasp music theory. Yeah, that's kind of fair. I feel like music theory is really hard to learn if you don't learn it from like a young age. Um, I don't know, maybe some people disagree with that, but I feel like music theory is you have to it's kind of like learning a language. Like I think they say learning a language, if you start at a young age, it's a lot easier to learn a language. I think it's the same with music theory. Um, but yeah, if you look at like all the successful artists and stuff, I mean, half of them don't know proper music theory. The other half do. Um, but yeah, a bunch of people have made really, really great music without knowing music theory. So I don't know. I think anybody who tells you you absolutely must learn music theory to make good music is just wrong. Um, that said, I feel like it is helpful. I do go back to music theory a lot when I'm like, you know, composing music and stuff. Um, but that's probably just because I have the training in it, which means that like I'm more likely to analyze things through that music theory lens. I have 70s rockstar hair. That's great. It's funny. I actually used to get that when I was younger. Like, I literally remember somebody told me I looked like, what's his name from Led Zeppelin, the guitarist. I'm forgetting his name because I'm streaming and I'm nervous, but yeah, I literally heard that when I was younger. It's easier to teach music theory to students at a young age. Yeah, that makes sense. Jimmy Page, thanks. I feel really stupid for forgetting that on stream, but like, you know. You've forgotten dumber things on stream before, yeah. Fair enough. It's weird. I don't know. I figure, like, if I stream enough times without any, like, high stakes thing going on, I can eventually just get used to it and start doing something a little bit more high stakes. Does music have documentation? Yeah, it kind of does, actually. There's a fair amount of stuff that you could, I don't know, view as documentation. I've done a lot of, like, trying to dissect, electronic songs, which is really hard to do, depending on the type of electronic song. Trying to just, like, replicate all the synth sounds and that sort of stuff. And I feel like doing that sort of dissection on music is one of the better ways to learn it. Just really breaking down and getting to know a single song. Like, spend, like, weeks on a single song trying to understand every single part of it. Thoughts on American football? I have no idea. I am sorry, my friend. I have no idea anything about American football. You thought you needed to use a cell phone to go live? Oh yeah. I was debating on how I was going to manage to do this, and I tested it privately first, and I was like, alright, it works. But, yeah. Thanks for, yeah. RDJ. Yes. I should tune this guitar to like microtones. I feel like that could be some pretty cool sounds, but I don't think I've ever tried tuning my guitar to microtones. I've done like some weird tunings, but nothing too crazy yet. What amp am I using? Honestly, I'm not certain. I got it like, I want to say 2019 or 2020 for like $100 at some music store. Oh yeah, I know people are asking, I don't have any pedals, I don't have anything crazy in terms of gear. I guess this guitar is probably the best piece of my gear, and I got an expensive guitar just because, like, I don't know. I've always, thought, like, with musical instruments, if I'm gonna learn an instrument, I should just go ahead and just get, like, the, good version of the instrument, and that'll sort of motivate me to keep playing it and keep practicing it, which I think worked. But yeah, in terms of like amp, and yeah, I don't have any pedals, and I've just got some basic amp. Yeah, I was purposely not gonna clarify who RDJ is, just because I know, like, if you know, you know, and then it's like, yeah. Do I like dark ambient? I haven't heard that much dark ambient. I don't dislike it, but I just haven't heard a lot of it. No arrow caps. I answered that in my About Me video, like, a couple months ago. So you can watch that if you want to hear the story behind the no arrow caps. Amp will make a bigger difference than guitar. That's fair, actually. I mean, just in terms of sound, yeah. I don't know. I probably don't have great justification for not getting a better amp at the time. I could at some point get a better amp, but usually what I do, so I'm recording it on my microphone right now for just the sake of having everything go through the microphone for, like, I don't know. I thought it would be easier to do than have, like, my guitar go through my PC and have that be a separate audio stream. But I do usually, like, when I'm recording stuff, I do just send it directly through my PC, so half the time I'm just processing it with, like, other effects or whatever that, you know, are not really that dependent on anything from the amp. Playing makes a difference, who needs an amp? True. You like the duck? I like the duck too. The duck is great. I don't know if, yeah, if I lean down, you can see the duck better. Bro, is this guy just spamming stuff in the chat? Can I ban him? Okay, I banned him, I think. Or no, I timeouted him, whatever. Oh, I just saw the duck pays half the rent. That's great. That's legendary. Yes, the duck, for canon purposes and lore purposes, the duck indeed does pay half the rent. back. Jeez. Yeah, I probably should mod somebody. I don't know, I'll probably just, like, get a friend to do it, like, next time I stream or something. Can probably just, yeah. Yeah, I'm just, like, kind of noodling around, I don't know. The hide option? Let's see. Okay. By the way, how has the audio quality been so far? Like, is the level okay, between my voice and the guitar and such? Is it, I don't know, is it peaking constantly or is it okay? Okay, great, thanks. What does it even mean? I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't know where these spammers are coming from. I don't know, I kind of figured, like, it's a live stream, so, I don't know, people show up and spam stuff, but... I'm new to Linux, what does rm-rf user do? I really hope you're not serious, but don't run that. You added a few friends as mods. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna do that. I think that probably makes the most sense. I feel like the pseudo rm-rf jokes are kind of funny, and then you're gonna have one person who sees that and is just gonna actually run it, and then they're just gonna delete their system. Hello, yes, I bought it used, I wanna say 2020. Um, is there a genre I like the most? Depends whether you're asking in terms of guitar-adjacent music or just in general. In general, definitely, like, ambient electronic. A fair amount of different stuff within that genre, but I don't know, I also listen to, like, early 2000s EDM, like the worst EDM imaginable, like the really, really trashy stuff that was like in clubs. I actually really like that. So I listen to that a lot, but I wouldn't say I, you know, sort of like that in a critical way. Um, but in terms of just like guitar specific music, like, I don't know, probably, probably 70s psychedelic. I really like Pink Floyd, early Pink Floyd. Who doesn't like Pink Floyd, honestly? Genesis, the first iterations of Genesis. Yeah, before Steve Hackett left. Steve Hackett is kind of a huge influence for me in terms of just playing, because he did a lot of like sound innovation before a lot of people were doing that. I don't know, there's some whole debate whether he's the one who invented tapping or Eddie Van Halen is. And I think the historically accurate thing is that it was invented before either of them came around. Like, I don't know, somebody way, way before that was actually the one to invent tapping. So, I don't know, it's kind of funny that that's a debate, but obviously Eddie's the one who really popularized it. Anyways, yeah, so 70s psychedelic stuff in terms of, you know, guitar-adjacent music. In fact, I probably have, yeah, I've got my Genesis cassettes, like, right here. If I could get them out, that is. Got a hard drive lying around. Yeah, Selling England by the Pound. This, and then Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and Trick of the Tail are probably, like, the holy trio of early Genesis. The band It Bites. Okay, I will check that out. That sounds interesting. Yeah, cassette collections are pretty cool. They're not very useful. I don't think I've played a cassette in years, but they're cheap to get, and if you go to, you know, any sort of like vintage, you know, yard sales or you know, vintage collections and that sort of thing, pretty easy to get cassettes, so. Pink Floyd's 50th anniversary album. I don't think I've heard that. I will have to listen to it. There's so many music recommendations here. I'm just gonna have to like go back and read the chat, you know, after the stream and just like bookmark all of these different pieces of music to listen to. Dark Side of the Moon. I think I said this somewhere either on my channel or on Patreon before, but this is a hot take. Animals is better than Dark Side of the Moon. Animals is the best Pink Floyd album, in my opinion. And Piper at the Gates of Dawn, best Floyd. You know what? That's fair. I really like Flaming from Piper. Flaming's really good. I mean, there's other good songs on it too, but the only Pink Floyd you like is The Wall? So, actually, The Wall is my least favorite album. Like, start to finish. Yeah, of all the Floyd albums, that's definitely my least favorite. There's good songs on it, and I will, like, skip through it, but I've tried to get into it, and I just can't get into it. It's too weird for me, I guess. Which is kind of, I guess that's kind of a strange thing to say, because I generally like pretty weird music, but yeah, The Wall just doesn't do it for me. Very experimental electronic niche ambient. Yeah. Kraftwerk is good, yeah. Oh, also, I'm just seeing this from above. Can I keep the stream up after the fact? Yeah, I can do that. Mongolian throat singing black metal. That sounds kind of legendary, actually. You should get a light up globe. They're pretty cool. I've actually had this way longer than I've had it out on my desk here. Yeah, I put it out on my desk sometime in the past year because I thought it would look cool in videos, and I feel like it does. But yeah, I've had it just not plugged in for years, and it's finally getting some use here. A combo light up globe in a fish tank? That would be amazing. Have you ever seen like those pictures of those full counter fish tanks where it's just like you've got a countertop and then the entire like underneath of the counter is fish tank? That's very much like early 2000s vibe, I guess, but I don't know. That's like, I guess that would be the dream fish tank, right? Some huge fish tank that's either spanning the whole under counter or the wall. Interesting. Sort of jazz, sort of rock, and totally original. I'll have to check that out. I'm pretty into jazz. I feel like I don't know. I don't think I could name anybody that I'm super into, but I do like jazz. I don't know. I've sampled a lot of jazz, actually. I've taken a lot of, like, you know, old jazz and just, like, chopped it up. Anything that's, like, copyright free is good material to sample with. Frutiger Arrow, yeah, that's what that was what I was thinking of. Fish tank liquid cooling PC, that would be so legendary. If unlimited budget, what PC would I build? You know what? I'm gonna say the fish tank liquid cooling PC. Why not? Gotta somehow keep the fish from getting into the PC, but like, I think that would be pretty cool. In terms of a realistic unlimited budget PC, I guess like, I don't know, I've always thought wood cases were really cool, so maybe like some custom built wood case that is like super fancy. And then, I mean, obviously like top of the line specs, but yeah, something like really, really fancy, and you know, some master carpenter makes the custom made wood case and it's super detailed. The fish getting destroyed by the fans. Yeah, we gotta be careful and save the fish from getting destroyed. And on the fish tank PC, we have to only run the fish shell. No bash, no ZSH, only the fish shell. Top of the line PC. I'm curious, since supercomputers are a thing, what would I use it for if I had like a real supercomputer? That's a great question, actually. I don't think off the top of my head I could think of anything to use a real supercomputer for. I mean, I could definitely, like, you know, anybody could use a better CPU or a better GPU or whatever. Like, I'm sure I would have a use case for like a better CPU, but probably not a supercomputer level CPU. Like, I can't think of anything that I would personally do with a supercomputer. Probably kind of a disappointing answer, but yeah, I don't know. You guys probably have ideas of what you would do with a supercomputer. Do I like any Yes albums? I can't name them, but I have heard some of the earlier ones were good, and shoot, I don't remember the name, but the one with the greenish cover, if any of you guys know the name of that one, I remember I heard that one and I liked it. But I haven't listened to Yes enough. I should listen to them more. I feel like I always listen to the same stuff over and over. Like, Close to the Edge, yeah, yup, that one's good. I like that one a lot. I always listen to the same music over and over. Like, I'll find something I really like, and I just play it every day for like a year straight, which is kind of sad because then I don't always hear new music, even though there's so much music out there that I'm sure I would love. But I don't know, I guess there's something really comforting about hearing the same music every single day. It's like, you know, I have an alarm clock sound, you know, a song that I listen to, and then I've got, you know, my going to bed music. I guess that's kind of weird when I think about it, but yeah. Classical music I like. Yes, I have a lot of classical music I like. Let me think of what I should name or suggest here in terms of classical music. Um, Anything Bartok, anything Vivaldi. But in terms of the four seasons, summer is really underrated. Summer and fall are both underrated. I know like spring and winter get all the love in terms of the four seasons. But yeah, summer and fall are really good. Um, what else should I name in terms of classical music? I don't know. I will next time I stream, I will write down like a list of classical music recommendations. You know, I should just make a list of music recommendations in general, like make a video about that. I don't know. I feel like that would be a really good video cuz I'm pretty passionate about music, so I feel like I could have, you know, a lot of recommendations and a lot to say about them. Do I sing? I don't sing. Sorry. I've never really tried to learn to sing. I'll always do that like humming to kind of get a melody sort of thing if I'm composing music, but I've never learned to properly sing. Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan is good. Oh, you know what I should recommend? Holst the Planets. That's like one of the best albums of all time. Um, and now that I remembered that because you know somebody was like I don't know, but there's some metal versions of Holst the Planets that are really really good, and there was some one guy on YouTube who had a really good metal cover, and I have no idea what his name was or anything, but I guess if you search up enough, you could probably find it. It was some random guy, and he had covers of like some of the planets. I think it was not all of them, but he had like Mars and Jupiter, and obviously like Mars lends itself really well to a metal cover. Devin Townsend. I feel like I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever listened. Um, I will just like scroll through the chat after the stream and like look up all of these recommendations. Is that a Kramer? Yeah, it's a Kramer Pacer, 1986, I believe. In flip flop pink, of course. Burn das Brot. Sorry, I probably pronounced that wrong. I'm not familiar, but again, I'll add that to like the time to look up this music list. Okay, a Steve Vai album in 1993. Okay, that makes sense. DWM distro that speaks in thirds. That's interesting. Kika Lounge. That name rings a bell, but I can't place it. Hmm. Cool. Well, I'll look them up. The third movement from Vivaldi's Summer is yeah. Yep. That's a good one. Pink is punk rock. Fair enough. Imagine if guitars had firmware updates. That would be kind of funny. Yngwie Malmsteen. Yes, he's great. Have you ever seen that photo of him with like 7 watches? The weirdest photo in existence. He's kind of weird actually, but his music's great. There's a Red Bull music documentary on how he makes his music. That would be, yeah, I'll look that up. That's interesting. You've met him in real life? That's really cool. Wow. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. You know, he seems like a little bit eccentric, but definitely a nice guy. The arrow keys look like little cupcakes with a cherry on top. That's great. You know what? Anytime somebody asks me from now going forward, I'm gonna just say the arrow keys are just miniature cupcakes with cherries on top, and it's intentional. Thanks, I appreciate that. Brazilian music. I feel like I have heard some classic Brazilian songs, like folk songs. Maybe some more, like, Brazilian rap, Brazilian modern rap, I think is something that I've occasionally come across. But I don't know, if you have recommendations, let me know. I'm happy to listen to more music. The candle's dancing to the music. Yeah, this candle is almost out. I have to get a new one in this flavor. It's like a marshmallow something, which is code word for probably just vanilla. But it's pretty good. That actually reminds me, I should check on my camera battery. Because it might run out at some point, and when it runs out, the stream is over. So let me see what it's at. Just, yeah, it's worth seeing. Alright, it's at around 50%, so I guess I'll probably be here for another, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. Is fall my favorite season? Yeah. Probably. I like all of them. I can appreciate all of them. I'm one of those people who's always like, when it's the current season, the grass is always greener on the other side. I always want it to be the next season out. So I feel like throughout, you know, spring and summer, I was like really waiting for fall. And now I'm really waiting for winter. So why do I use a wooden chair? Is it comfortable? Yeah, I would say it's comfortable. I've had this chair for like, dude, this chair is probably older than I can even remember. I've had it, like, forever, so I just really like this chair. I've repaired it multiple times. The legs are... they're on their last legs. I've re-glued it and stuff, but yeah, I find it pretty comfortable. Battery meters always lie. That's actually true. When my camera is at 50%, That's actually less than 50%, which is why I was saying, like, it's probably only going to be another 20 or 30 minutes, because, yeah, it was good to see you, Veronica. Have a good night. Thanks for, stopping by here. Discord or, Revolt server. So, I have briefly thought about, you know, if I wanted to do some kind of... I wouldn't want to do Discord, obviously, since it's not free and open source, but, you know, any sort of, like, community server. I'm not gonna say it's permanently off the table, but for now, probably not, just because I definitely don't have the time to, like, set it up and then moderate it and, you know, keep an eye on it. I feel like if you're gonna have a community server, it kind of becomes your job to, you know, keep a careful eye on it and moderate it and make sure, like, nothing bad is going on in it. And I just don't have the time to do that, and I don't have the time to select people carefully to do that for me. But maybe at some point in the future. I feel like that's, you know, a logical step at some point, but yeah, not yet. I might like Tool. Yeah, Tool's good. I'm not a huge fan of Tool, but they're not bad. Please fix my keyboard? No, sorry. My keyboard is staying the way it is. My monitors are staying at the height they are. Yeah, an actual dedicated forum, I feel like, would be nice. Just in terms of, like, troubleshooting. You know, I've been meaning to say in a video at some point that, like, people should try to help each other out in the comments. When I see a comment that's, like, you know, somebody just asking for, like, technical help, basically, I try to, you know, if I have the time, go there and reply to them and just, you know, try to point them in the right direction. But obviously there's a lot of comments that are asking that sort of question, so, I don't know, I feel like if we could kind of, as a community, all try and make an effort to reply to people asking for, like, technical support, basically. Even if it's, like, you know, stupid questions, in quotes. You know, it's helpful to people. And I feel like if we, instead of, you know, dismissing people with stupid questions, we kind of help them out, they will eventually become not noobs, so... No question is stupid, people are. You know what? I have to disagree with you on that one. If you're suggesting that people are stupid because they ask stupid, I don't think that's true. I think everybody starts out not knowing about a topic, and, you know, everybody can learn about it if they put in the effort. I will say there's definitely a type of question that indicates that somebody, you know, did not put very much care into asking the question and are just sort of, like, blindly asking without understanding what they're asking. But, you know, there's... I think anybody can be pointed in the right direction and they will eventually learn. And I'm saying this as somebody who I think at one point asked stupid questions when it came to Linux. We probably all did, if we're being honest. You know, when we all started using Linux, whenever that was for everybody, like, we all asked stupid questions. We all asked things that could have been answered by just reading a help page or a manual, so... Yeah, I feel like the era of forums is kind of gone, which is sad. Forums were like... I don't know, there's still a lot of tech and Linux forums, but forums as a whole have become chat servers instead, which is just a different vibe, I guess. Yeah, time to bring back forums. That'd be cool. I feel like that might be a good thing for the internet in general, to have forums back. My monitor positions are almost like retro-futuristic Blade Runner ships. You know what? I know what you're talking about. That's kind of funny. I can see it. Make it IRC if I set up community space. Yeah, I was thinking about IRC. You know, long term in the future, but probably either, like, just a dedicated forum or IRC. The thing with the forum, at least, is it's sort of just, because of the formatting, I feel like it would be easier to moderate it. I don't know, though. I'm not super into Android. I have tried Graphene. I'm currently using Calyx OS, or maybe it's pronounced Calyx. I still don't know the correct pronunciation. But I'm not super into Android in terms of like tinkering with it, just because I don't really use my phone for that much. I use it, you know, as a camera, as a phone, music sometimes, but I generally just use an iPod. And, I don't know, web browsing, I guess. But that's basically it. I don't do anything crazy on phone. iPod Classic Gang. Yeah. Dude, I should make some iPod videos at some point. I have to replace my iPod hard drive because it's starting to fail. So, I should, you know, get a new hard drive and then make a video about it. As of right now, it's not modded. It's running Rockbox, so I don't know. That's not technically modded, so it's you know, just stock iPod hardware. I don't know. I've never had the need to do Bluetooth modding, though I know that's kind of a cool process, so maybe I would just do that for the heck of it at some point. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna get a better hard drive for it, and that'll be it. Sudden surge of activity in chat. Yeah, I feel like chat is more active if I talk, which I was kind of really nervous to talk at the beginning of the stream, but I'm getting more used to it now. I just gotta pretend that, like, I'm not actually live streaming and I'm just, I don't know, talking to myself or something. Yes, I should mod my guitar with something Linux based. I will install Linux on my guitar. I'm better at talking to a camera these days. Yeah, I've definitely noticed rewatching my really old videos. I think I've improved a lot. When I first started making videos, I was like super nervous to talk to a camera, and I was just kind of talking monotone, and then like I knew what I had to say and I was just trying to get it out. Whereas now I'm a lot better at talking in more of a conversational style. I still say and like way too much, but that's probably a habit that I will never kick, even though I've tried. Yeah, I'm just talking with a bunch of friends I didn't know I had. Pretty much, yeah. I don't use any guitar pedals, and I might eventually get some. Why bread? Really old nickname. I guess I'm trying to think of even how that nickname came about, but yeah, bread was just a nickname for a while, so. Bread on penguins, bread using Linux. Plus I like birds a lot, so, you know, penguins, pretty cool little fellas. I should optimize my guitar because 6 strings is bloated. Wait till you see a 12 string. Honestly, I should get a 12 string. I feel like they have a really magical sound. Without sounding weird or creepy, I get cozy vibes from this channel. Yeah. I try to keep it, you know, I don't know, cozy vibes, I guess. Do I speak other languages? No, sadly. I should really learn some. I've tried... When I was in high school, obviously everybody has to take a language. I'd imagine that's a global thing, actually. Maybe not, but that's definitely a US thing where you're required to take a foreign language. And I remember really struggling with it. But I am interested in learning a language. Especially some of the Eastern European languages, I feel like are really nice languages, just in terms of how they sound. Like, I don't know, Polish, for example. Polish is just like, it's smooth, if that makes sense. I don't know. But yeah, there's certain languages that just have like a feel to them when you hear people speaking them. It's a cool feel. So, I don't know. Maybe someday when I'm retired and I have the time, I will learn a language. Polish Cow. Yes, Polish Cow is a good song. I looked up the music video for that song one time. The original lyrics of Polish Cow are super dark. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You have a lot of like, you know, kind of depressing songs from that area. It's like, you know, dark Eastern European or post-Soviet music is like a thing. And it's a cool thing. Like, I like it, but that's definitely like, I don't know what I should have expected from Polish Cow. Have I learned a whole song yet? Sadly, I don't think I have anything I could play for you from memory here. The last thing I spent time learning, I was trying to adapt a couple of classical songs to guitar, and I don't know. I messed around with them and didn't really get anything super good. That reminds me, I should record some stuff on violin again and post it. I did that, I don't know, sometime last year, I think for like Thanksgiving or something. Portuguese is a cool sounding language? Yeah, Portuguese is pretty cool. The Eastern European languages are tricky in a grammar sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I've always heard, like, English is the weirdest language grammatically, or maybe not the weirdest, but one of the weirder languages grammatically. Like, it doesn't jive with other languages. So I don't know, maybe the European languages are more logical grammatically, whereas American English especially is weird. I don't know. %20 market share for Linux? That's great. That's really cool. I don't actually use a DAW to record. I generally just record with FFmpeg and then I just send it into the DAW. So I use LMMS, and I say that lightly because I feel like I'm always going back to FL Studio, which sucks because it's not open source, but there's just stuff that I feel like LMMS can't do correctly yet. I don't know. I really need to, like, on my next big project, just say no FL Studio at all and just completely go with LMMS and, you know, see what I can manage with it. There's a lot of really good free and open source synths, and honestly, I think the free and open source synths are better than the proprietary ones. But just in terms of DAW, I feel like LMMS has, I don't know, issues, so I try to use it, and then I feel like, you know, I'll get somewhere, and then I'll be like, no, I have to go back and do this one thing in FL, and then export it, and then stick it in LMMS, because it's like, yeah, I couldn't get the right sound. It's the same story with, like, GIMP versus Photoshop, where, like, I can get, you know, 90% of the way there in GIMP, and then there's just this one thing that GIMP can't do, so I boot up Photoshop and go do it, and then stick it back in the GIMP project. Live chat selected instead of top chat? I will select that. Thanks. Thanks for videos. No problem. Thanks for the donation. Appreciate it. GIMP sucks though. I kind of tend to agree with you. I feel like 3.0 did a lot for GIMP, but it still feels weird to me, even after years of using it. Just coming from, like, originally using Photoshop. I grew up with Photoshop. Like, I've genuinely used Photoshop as long as I can remember, because there's a lot of people in my family who use it professionally, so like I remember just being sat down at the computer and like they would open up Photoshop and be like, here, you can draw in Photoshop. And you know, that was like the activity. So I genuinely have used Photoshop like my entire life. So using GIMP still feels kind of weird to me. I try to use it because like, yeah, I prefer to not use proprietary software, but there's definitely stuff you can't do in GIMP. And I don't know. I don't really understand the argument of like, just, you know, completely replace Photoshop with free and open source software. Because, you know, for I guess worse, Adobe is really the, you know, in terms of the creative market here, Adobe is the leader, and across the board, Adobe has features in their software that free and open source options don't have. I think I talked about this in a video a long time ago. I think I made a video, I want to say last fall at some point, talking about why I can, as of right now, not really get rid of Photoshop. You can't draw a circle. I can't draw that well. I've tried to learn drawing, just because I feel like it's a useful skill to have. But I'm not great at it. I don't watch UFC, sorry. I don't really watch any sports. You still crack Photoshop? I decline to comment on that one. Yeah, you can appreciate a bit of proprietary goodies in your open source salad. Yeah, I feel like for anybody using any sort of creative programs, the reality is you might have to use proprietary software some of the time. Just because the Linux alternatives, free and open source alternatives, some of them are available on Windows and Mac too, but the free and open source alternatives are just not up to speed across the board. Sometimes they do stuff better than the proprietary ones, but just, you know, there's always like one tiny feature here or there that you don't need it until that time comes that you do need it. And that's, you know, why I still boot up Photoshop at times, and, you know, I still go back to FL Studio at times. And I don't know, I have hope that within maybe 5 years we will have really, really good free and open source options. I should say, I completely replaced Adobe Lightroom. I used to use Lightroom for years, and I guess for the past, I want to say 5 years now, I've used Darktable exclusively, and I haven't needed to go back to Lightroom at all. I don't even have it installed. So, for photos, I think we're basically good in terms of free and open source. And if you don't like Darktable, then r.i.p is also good, and there's a couple of other options too, I think. Do I watch any YouTube? I am pretty proud to say I completely cut out YouTube in the past year. I basically don't watch YouTube at all. I have a few people that I will occasionally check in on just to see, like, you know, how they're doing, where they're at in life, but I pretty much don't watch YouTube, which is why a lot of the time, you know, people will be mentioning stuff in the comments or whatever, and I'm just, like, completely not in the loop about it, just because I don't watch YouTube. I don't really watch, or I guess consume is the word people use. I don't consume any content. The best is to become a light being and implement your needs in the open source software directly. That's great. Having a team create a program. That's a really interesting question. I'm not sure, actually. I think there's a lot of really good programs that were created by basically one person. And sometimes you'll have obviously contributors, but like spearheaded by one person. The issue with that is, say that person decides they are moving on with life, that project is now abandoned and somebody else is going to have to pick it up. Case in point, like Dylan r.i.p or r.i.ps and all of his stuff, but all of his stuff survived, basically. It's just, different forks of it now. Like, NeoFetch is now, I don't know, Fast Fetch or whatever, or, I don't know, similar programs always existed for that, but, I don't know, has anybody taken over Kiss Linux? I don't actually know. I've always wanted to try Kiss Linux. I feel like if I switch distros, I might unironically use Kiss Linux. Just, I don't know. It kind of checks all of the right boxes for me. How much hard drive space do I have in my house? I have a lot of hard drive space. When you have a high megapixel count camera, your images are huge. Which means, like, my images from my good camera are, like, 60 to 70 megabytes. Which means that if I have, hundreds of thousands of photos, I need a ton of storage. Kiss Linux, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, that's the original meaning of it, I think. It's genuinely a cool distribution, and I kind of regret not checking it out when it was still super active, but I don't know if anybody else took over the project. I feel like Dylan still has it, but... Yeah, they're raw images, and I save all of my raw images, because I often find I will go back and edit RAWs years later with a new eye. Like, I recently went back and cleaned up a bunch of RAWs from, like, 2017, because it was, like, I never had the eye for it at the time, but now I can look at it and see the direction I want to edit it in. So, yeah, I do save all my RAWs, and... Considering storage is just getting cheaper and cheaper, I don't think I'm gonna run into an issue with that. It's pretty cheap to get storage now, especially if you do just like old hard drives and just put them in RAID, and then you're basically good if you want to just save all of your old photos or all of your old whatevers. How old am I? I've never answered that, and I probably will never answer that. You could probably put it together from things that I've said, though. I'm not sure if I've technically said something that would give you an exact year, but I think I have said something that would point you to within 5 years, I think. The topic of GIMP and Photoshop, as to how many devs working on the Yeah. And then obviously Adobe has a huge team of people behind them. Photoshop is just incredibly polished as a piece of software. Like, I don't know, I remember back in the day when I would use Microsoft Word years and years ago, it has always sucked. Like, I think everybody agrees Microsoft Word just sucks, even though it's from, like, a huge company, a huge team. But Photoshop never sucked. Like, I feel like Photoshop has just genuinely been really good software for, 20 or I guess 30 years now. Whereas, like, yes, GIMP sucks in terms of the various issues it has. It's like the polish, I guess. The polish in terms of the user experience on GIMP. The user experience is really the main issue on GIMP, I think. Your grandma would always say, as old as my tongue and a little older than my teeth. That's great. Greetings from Greece. Hello. It's really cool to see people from around the world. And I looked at my channel analytics, and it's great to see that, there's people from, like, so many different countries. I don't know. I just think that's really cool. I don't live in an area that has a lot of different people of, different types and, different religions, different countries, different origins, different, styles of living. So I feel like it's cool to see people that are different from me, if that makes sense. Hi from Canada. Hi, Canada. Yeah, I'm from the US. Hi from Algeria. That's cool. Yeah, there's so many different countries getting listed now. This is great. What's the gender split for my viewers? Asked by Ashley. Hi, Ashley. So the gender split for my viewers is like 97% male, which I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. You know, when I first started making videos and I saw that, I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, because you know, the internet is overall like mostly male. There always used to be that thing where it was like, you know, when you're talking to somebody on the internet, you're just gonna assume it's a guy. That was the thing for, like, you know, the early 2000s and everything. So I've always kind of thought, you know, the internet, like, it's mostly male. I didn't realize, though, that Linux is, like, 95% male. You know, going based on my analytics, at least. So, yeah, I guess that's, that was kind of a culture shock for me when I realized, oh, shoot, this is, like, nearly all men, rather than, like, you know, 75-30 or 60-40 or something like that, which is what I was originally expecting. Quote, no girls on the internet. Yeah, that was kind of always the thing, you know. Oh no, my candle went out. Sad. Oh well. End of that candle. Hi from Texas, we think we're a different country. Ha! That's great. Yeah. Your gender is unreadable characters. No sane women will use Linux. Yeah, you know what? I'm probably not sane, so fair enough. Mozambique, that's cool. Hi. Piano synth ambient? Yeah. You know, Harold Budd and Brian Eno, their collaboration albums are really good. If you want, like, piano with a little bit of synth and that sort of stuff. The Pearl is, like, probably in my top 10 albums of all time. Sanity is overrated. Yes, it is. Which country would I want to visit right now to explore? That's a great question. Probably either Iceland or Finland, if I had to pick one. Probably Finland, I guess. North, you know, Lapland area. No sane human would use Windows. True. Kiss is zero bloat Linux. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, I really want to try it for that reason. I feel like that's the end game distro, you know? Hello, as a human from Earth. Mostly Scotland. That's cool. Finland because Linux. That's actually, that just occurred to me. No, just because, I don't know. I like the topography. I like how the nature looks there. That's, you know, basically the reason why I would want to visit all sorts of various countries. I just want to see cool places and get cool photos of those places. We have a few Lori Wired fans in here. I feel like I've heard that name, but I'm not sure who it is. I will have to look them up. Finland because cold is fun. Yes, you get it. Cold is fun. What is my favorite word? That's a good question. Favorite word? I could either pick something really simple, or I could pick something really complex. Maybe Sonder. Sonder is a cool word. I feel like... I seem to remember one time reading a word that translated to, I'm trying to think of how to describe this. Okay. I think we're still live. I don't know. Let me know if we're still live here. I'm back. Was that the fastest camera battery switch in existence? Actually, it's probably pretty slow, but good to know that I can just switch batteries on the fly like that if I want to. Anyways, I was gonna say, there's a word, and I think it's in German, for listening to a piece of music until you like that piece of music. Like, listening to something that you might originally not like, and you listen to it enough until you like it. I don't know if that's a real word or if I'm imagining that, but I feel like I heard of that. I don't know. If anybody here speaks German and knows of that word, let me know. I think German has a lot of, like, those interesting words that are just this description of, like, an obscure feeling, I guess. It's called pop music on the radio. True. What is my favorite movie? That's a good question. I'd have to think about that. Probably something classic. I don't know, maybe Rear Window, I guess. Hitchcock is good. I don't really have a innovative answer to favorite movie. Favorite song or album? I don't think I could give you a favorite, but I could probably give top 10, and I will probably make a video going over my, top 10 albums or something like that. I'd have to really think about it, though, and make, like, a good list. There's a term for when a baby holds fingers? That's cool. Yeah, it's cool to have those sorts of words that just have such an extended description. I feel like English doesn't have those words that much. You'd watch that when that video comes out? Alright, great. Well, yeah. I should do more videos about music-related stuff. I'm not gonna hope to pronounce that, but that might actually be the word. What is my favorite music genre? Ambient electronic. Yes, all of my videos do have it mirrored. This is true. I explained that in my About Me video. Yes, I mirror all of my footage because I feel like it looks better when my face is pointed towards the monitor, but also in the bottom corner on this side. I don't know. Do I play any tabletop or video games? I don't play tabletop. I played poker for like a year, a while ago, with some friends, and it was fun. Video games, occasionally. I try not to play video games too much. I used to play video games a lot more. Back in, like, I don't know, 2019, 2020 was probably the peak of playing video games. But yeah, I still occasionally play games. I'm definitely not the type of person to be like, don't play video games or something like that. But I do think it's pretty easy to fall into video game addiction and, escapism, basically. But you can end up with escapism at all kinds of things, so I feel like it's less about what media you're escaping with, and more about just, like, don't use that sort of thing as escapism. I don't know. I don't know what the kanji means. If you know, let me know. I'm very interested to hear. A friend of mine got me this, actually. So, I don't know. I think it's great because it's got the tiger and the rhinestones. So. What's my month of birth? I am not saying. Sorry. It means happy? That's great. Well, I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty happy tiger. Retro games or older PC releases? Is Minecraft technically old? I guess, I mean, it's like, you know, I feel old every time I see the date that Minecraft was released. Do I have a boyfriend? No, and I'm not looking. Do I play Magic the Gathering? No, sorry, I don't. Comic books? I have read comic books years ago, but nothing currently. I don't view escapism as a bad thing necessarily, but I do think there is kind of a worldwide epidemic of people getting way too into escapism because they see, you know, bad stuff is going on in the world and they're like, well, everything's fine in my video game world here, so I can just play my video game all day and not worry about it, which isn't really a good mindset. I definitely do respect the idea of escapism just in the sense of, like, I want to think about this fantasy world, and because escapism can lead to creativity, you know? I feel like I've been really creative after watching some movie where I got really invested in it, or playing some game where I got really invested in it. That kind of fuels creativity in some sense. So escapism as a whole isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do think a lot of people are relying on it way too much instead of fixing up their, you know, real lives so that their real lives can be as good as the feeling that you get, you know, when you're escaping from real life. And I'm saying this as somebody who used to be very much escaping with, you know, video games or media of whatever sort. I think if you can get to a point in real life, not that your real life is necessarily going to be perfect, rather than really trying to fix your life, I think it's more about learning to live with the imperfections of your life, learning to live with that, like, things are gonna always be wrong, and there's always gonna be, you know, bad things happening, whether it's in your own life or in the world. There's always gonna be, you know, you're always gonna be grieving somebody, right? But if you can learn to live with that rather than trying to escape from it. Cumberland is my favorite word, no single repeating letter. Fair enough. What are my thoughts about minimalism? Real life minimalism, definitely not. I would say I'm pretty maximalist in terms of design taste. Both for, like, just real life stuff in general, and then, like, fashion sort of stuff. I would say I'm pretty maximalist. In terms of computer stuff, on the other hand, I'm super minimalist, and I try to be minimalist because I feel like, you know, a minimal computer setup is a clean mind. In general, I feel like I try to be minimalist in terms of thought. I don't know if there's a word for that, or if that's... I feel like that's probably a thing that has a word for it. I don't know what the word would be, but yeah. I think you can have maximalism of a lot of objects or something like that, where you have this physical maximalism, but you can also jointly have, you know, mental minimalism. What guitar is that? It is a Kramer Pacer 1986 flip-flop pink. More is more. Heck yeah. Yeah. Yngwie knows what's up. He got so much crap for, like, you know, basically kind of, in some people's point of view, ruining the guitar, you know, just doing way too much shredding and, like, all sorts of, like, insane technical stuff, and, you know, not having, quote, feel. And I'm saying this as, you know, people say this, not that I believe this, but I genuinely like his stuff, and I think he just has a different angle on music than a lot of the popular, I guess, other people of his time. What are my thoughts on the company named Pegasus that can hack any device made on planet Earth? I have not heard of that company. I feel like Pegasus is a cool name, and that sounds kind of cool. Hacking any device. That also sounds kind of dangerous, but I don't know. That's cool, I guess. What office suite do I use, if any? LibreOffice. It's not amazing, and I try to avoid using it. I feel like it's easier to get stuff done in NeoVim, but LibreOffice for like spreadsheets or anything super technical. There are terminal options for spreadsheet, viewers and editors. Like I think SC-IM is one of them. But yeah, I don't know. I've stuck with LibreOffice for that, but I don't know. Maybe I should switch at some point. Pegasus is a Greek word. Yes, it is. Yes, I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of a fan of unicorns and that sort of stuff. Hence the musical project name. Is there a story behind my username? Yes, and I've explained this a couple times. Bread is just a nickname. I don't know. Maybe because my hair color and my face color kind of looks like bread. I don't know. But very old nickname. And then penguins is Linux. But I also like birds, so I feel like the name works. Favorite quotes. So I could read you. I've got some quotes written down here. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I should read in terms of quotes. I don't know. By cracking, the light gets in. Tomorrow is another day. Do not choose to be troubled. Hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil. I'll stick with those for now in terms of reading out quotes. Do I own a something plush? No, I don't really have any plushes. Actually, that's not true. I have a duck plush. But I don't really have any plushes other than that. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I guess that's like Swedish, maybe? Or yeah, I think that's Swedish. Maybe Norwegian. I'm not sure. Sorry. Favorite books? Yes. I feel like my favorite books are gonna be choices that don't have real meaning to people, but let me pull this out. Sorry, that was probably loud. That probably just moved the mic stand. A favorite book, and this book actually was this book has been in my family. This has like gone through multiple hands. Quack, yes, quack. Have a good evening too. Club Penguin, yes, I played Club Penguin back in the day. Rest in peace, Club Penguin. Is there any open source that matches that game though? I don't know. That would be kind of cool, an open source Club Penguin. You love the lighting? Thanks. Mr. Badger, indeed. I love Mr. Badger. I should do a video on wine. That's true. I should. That's a good idea. Neopets. Oh man, these are all just like early 2000s things, yes. The Linux blue screen of death for kernel panic. I haven't personally seen that. I think I've seen a screenshot of something similar. Maybe? Yeah, luckily I've never had true kernel panic. Oh no, my candle died. Yeah, it's been dead a few minutes here. It was at, like, the last of its, I don't know. I gotta get some new candles. A moment's silence in memory of the candle flame, yes. Is DWL my favorite Wayland compositor? Yes, but I'm thinking about looking at other stuff. I'm not certain on it. But, I mean, I've been using it, I don't dislike it, I don't have anything really specific to complain about, but, I don't know. Maybe I should just hack around on it a lot more and see if I can just, you know, change some stuff, and I don't know, we'll see. I did have an idea for what to do about Wayland videos, by the way. I will probably just get a KVM switch. Since a lot of the issue for me was both that the laptop is a low resolution screen, so it's not 1080p, and then I also would have to move my camera setup, move my microphone, which these are all, you know, cable managed, not amazingly, but they are cable managed, so like I'd have to switch that every time I was switching to record on laptop, unless I wanted to just record with like the ThinkPad webcam and microphone, which are probably really bad quality. So yeah, what I'm probably gonna do is just get a KVM switch and then plug everything into that and then just switch at will. That should do it. Thoughts on Rust coreutils? I wanted to make a video about this actually. I should make a video about Rust coreutils. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like in general, I generally try to take like the middle line sort of point of view on things. Like I'm always ending up somewhere in the middle because I try to like understand both sides of the argument here. And yeah, I feel like Rust coreutils, I see the appeal. I also feel like a lot of the time they're just not needed. So, you know, there's no reason to kind of replace everything with them unless you particularly want them. I could probably read more about them and think of a better way to phrase that, though. But, I mean, as you may or may not have noticed, I have switched out some of my coreutils for alternatives, whether Rust or not, and yeah, I feel like it just depends on use case. Do I watch One Piece? No, sorry, I don't. That's, yeah, I don't really watch any anime. I think that's anime, at least. Is that anime or is that cartoons? I don't really watch any anime or cartoons. I used to watch Tom and Jerry, but... Ugreen USB HDMI KVM? Okay, thanks for the recommendation. I will have a look at that. Do I use AI much in the No, I don't use AI. Basically at all. I tried it a couple times. I understand why people find it useful. I also feel like people are really, really overusing it now, so... Anime is a really underrated form of art. Fair enough. Any feelings on file systems or the use of snapshots? Snapshots are useful. I was thinking about setting up snapshots, and then I realized, like, I could probably reinstall my entire system in, like, under an hour, because I have everything backed up. And I do back up stuff pretty routinely, and all of my important files are just on RAID. So, I don't really have a need to set up snapshots. I don't think... And I should mention, like, I've never been in a situation where I had to restore my system. Other than that one time that I accidentally changed file system permissions on my root file system, which sucked, but I fixed that in like a few hours, and it was just my root file system, so I went through the troubleshooting steps. I don't remember if I ended up reinstalling with that, but I think I might have reinstalled. But yeah, it took me a few hours to fix it, and that was probably the worst thing I've ever done with my system, so I don't really need snapshots. But I do know quite a few people who religiously use snapshots and have gotten use out of it, so I feel like the cleaner your file management is in general, the less likely you will need snapshots, because if you have clean file management, so you really know where everything is on your system, and then you also back up frequently, then you don't have much of a need for snapshots, since worst case scenario, everything's gone. Like, say I just, took my drive out of my PC and I had to reinstall everything to a new drive. Well, I would just pull all of my stuff off of backups, I would pull all my config files and everything, and it would basically be done in probably an hour. So, I don't really need snapshots. Do I listen to Justin Bieber? No, I have not listened to Justin Bieber since, 2010, and I didn't enjoy listening to him then either. Sorry, if you love Justin Bieber, then power to you. Eye candy is not useful, but it makes the computer more fun to use. Yes, and there are times when eye candy is useful, in terms of where your focus is going, like where your eye is going on the screen. I think I've made this argument for gaps in window managers before. Gaps in tiling window managers. It's not just an eye candy thing. It literally gives you separation between different windows so that your eye doesn't go back and forth, especially if you have thick walls of text on 2 windows or even 3 windows. Your eye is going to have visual separation between them. So gaps are 100% functional. And the same argument could be made for a lot of other, supposedly aesthetic things. Dark modes, color schemes, that sort of thing. I protest too much and therefore I love Justin Bieber. That's funny. I think, he might have 1 or 2 good songs if I really, rack my brain to think of Justin Bieber songs. Oh man. Justin Bieber and, Katy Perry and, I don't know, who else? Miley Cyrus. That's an era of music that's I don't know. They're all awful, and I'm really sorry if you like them. And keep liking them if you like them, but I can't. Which distro am I using right now? I'm using Arch on 2 systems, and I'm thinking about if I want to switch one of them to Artix soon. I'm thinking about it. I talked about this recently, I think. Why I don't distro hop from Arch, but I will probably end up on Artix at some point. But long term, I'm thinking about possibly Kiss Linux or something else that would require, I don't know, a lot of work, but also be basically bloat free and just have, everything just super simple and super minimal. I'm glad the video on Batcat was helpful for you. Leverage snapshots for your backups? Fair. I don't know. Maybe I will eventually hit a point where I really could have used a snapshot, and then that will teach me to start doing snapshots. I feel like that's what happens. People start doing backups after they lose data. So maybe I will start doing snapshots after something happens that makes me need to have snapshots. Yeah, Arch has been the stopping point for distro hopping. Yeah, I've basically heard that. Arch and I don't know. There's a few distros that are the end point for people. How do you stay motivated when a project or code gets really tough? I usually just ask ChatGPT or my brother. That's cool that you ask your brother. That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time I will abandon something and go back to it way later. Though I have tried, sort of as a New Year's resolution, to really push through things that I find hard. And a lot of the time, when you find something hard and you push through it, you'll realize at the other side, it was actually a lot easier than I thought. I found that more with, creative stuff than coding stuff. But yeah. Why are you using an outdated imperative OS when you can use a far superior declarative OS like Nix? Or preferably, yes. Yes, fair enough. I don't have a good argument for this. I'm sorry. Thank you for the donation, though. Nix OS people are cool. You guys just... Nix OS people are the new version of Arch users feeling so superior. Nix OS people are just but we're on Nix. It's better. Fair enough. Do you use btrfs? No, but I need to switch to it. I would like to use btrfs. My computer can run Nix, but my brain can't. Fair enough. Do you write bash scripts to automate or bash scripts in general? To automate versus in general? I mean, I guess I just write them in general, but, like, generally with a purpose. Like, I usually don't just mess around in bash. But yeah, it's pretty much just a useful tool for automating stuff. Occasionally Python stuff too, but not as much. Am I transgender? No, I'm not transgender. Do I change my shell? I changed it to ZSH a while ago, and I haven't switched since. I think people wanted me to try out fish, so maybe I will try it sometime. I used it once or twice, but, like, I never really tried it, just because, I mean, I was happy with ZSH. Thoughts on scrolling layouts? If that works for you, then that's great. I can see the appeal of the scrolling layouts, the scrolling window managers. It's not really my workflow, though I guess it's possible, you know, if I were to try one of them, maybe I would adapt to the workflow. But, fair enough. Disappointing. Music goals. Yes, I have an idea for an album that I've had for a long time, and I'm thinking now is the time to start working on it. But I don't know how long it will take. So I guess I'm just gonna keep working on, like, random projects until I really bring that idea to fruition. Opinions on Fedora? Sorry, I don't really have any opinions on Fedora. I haven't really used it much at all. It is rude to ask such things. I don't know. I mean, people can ask what they want to ask. I don't have a problem with somebody asking. I mean, it's a simple enough question, so, you know, nothing wrong with asking, but what's my social security number? Alright, well, simple enough question. Nothing wrong with... No, I'm joking. Sorry, I'm not telling you my social security number. Would it be possible to run Linux without invoking bash at any point in the process? That's an interesting question. I wonder if there's a distribution that just completely cuts bash. There must be, right? I mean, because stuff existed before bash, right? So... ChatGPT says I'm around 26. That's funny. I cannot confirm nor deny that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of funny that, you know, I'm less worried about, you know, somebody asking me if I'm transgender than somebody asking me my age. I don't know. I don't have a problem if, like, somebody, I don't know, perceives me as transgender or something. I mean, I'm not, but, like, you know. If it floats your boat, then go ahead. Have I tried Void Linux? I think I tried it once, but I didn't really do much on it. I think I installed it and was like, nope, and then went to something else. I think it's probably a good option. I guess, I don't know. I'm probably just gonna go from Arch to Artix at some point. I'm probably not gonna try Void, but we'll see. I'm not gonna read that out because I don't want to blink twice for yes. That's really funny. What makes me happy? What keeps me going? That's a great question. I just dropped my guitar pick. Oops, guitar picks. They're always going everywhere. I don't know. I feel like in the past several years, I've really made more of an effort to kind of take joy in things that are very stable and very reliable. Like, I don't know, the sun coming up, right? The sun comes up, the sun goes down. It's always going to keep going up and going down, you know? I'm going to die long before the sun does. So taking joy in something like that, I think, is a goal of mine, to find more things like that where that's the thing that makes me happy. Beyond that, I guess, I don't know, pursuing my goals and achieving things that are just kind of like on my bucket list, I would say makes me happy. Like, I can look back at things that, you know, I've achieved for myself and say, yeah, I'm happy about that, so. You love my aesthetics even more? Yes, I try very hard with the aesthetic. I feel like aesthetic is such an artistic thing. Like, good art has a good aesthetic, which is a weird statement that I'm not sure I can back up correctly with any sort of real facts there, but I do stand behind it. Good art has, you know, a consistent and a good aesthetic to it. My pastor plays guitar, and I will say that there are guitar picks everywhere. Yeah. Am I thinking about no, I'm not thinking about getting married. And I'm not looking, sorry. Nice globe, thanks. Is buying a MacBook and running macOS on my bucket list? It's not on my bucket list. I don't know. macOS used to be really cool back in the day. I feel like it was better back when it was like, I don't know, Snow Leopard, I guess. macOS used to be good. Windows used to be better than it is now. Windows is awful. macOS is bad. Sorry. If you use Mac and you enjoy Mac, then power to you. I'm not trying to like be mean to Mac users. Have I always been a tech and Linux nerd? No, I haven't, and I think I talked about this at some point in a video. I actually grew up really without a lot of computer stuff. We had a home computer. I was basically just restricted to using it when I was allowed to use it, and then the rest of the time I wasn't supposed to be on it. I wasn't allowed to have video games for a lot of my childhood. I was allowed to go to friends' houses, so I would go to friends' houses and play games with them and stuff, but, you know, I wasn't allowed to have video game consoles, you know, myself at home. And then eventually I, you know, got to a point where I started earning some money, and then I bought, like, game consoles and stuff, and then I got into games, and then I got into computers, and, I don't know, I've always thought maybe, like, I was kind of destined to get into computers because I was raised really without being on computers. We never had a TV. Yeah, they still won't have a TV. Like, they don't use TV at all. So, fair enough on that, honestly. I feel like life without a TV is better. A wallpaper that fits with my theme's colors. Check my Patreon, because I have a lot of stuff posted for free that you might like. Man, that's funny. Fave books, yes, I've already said this. It's my favorite book of all time. This has been through many, many hands in my family. And other books in a similar vein to that. I don't know. Maybe I should recommend some, like, real books at some point. I don't know. This is a real book. I don't mean to say Wind in the Willows is not a real book, but, you know, more, I guess, adult-oriented books. I could give some recommendations. I'm not gonna go pull stuff off the shelf right now, but I maybe could make a future video talking about book recommendations. I think that would be interesting. Did I break the home PC? No, I didn't. I didn't. Oh, thank you. How do I manage picture RAWs? Darktable. I just basically just slap them into Darktable. I have a video I made a while ago that is just a shell script that just pulls everything off my SD card and slaps it into Darktable, and it's all automated, so I just have it bound to a shortcut key. And yeah, I just plug in my SD card, run the script, and then I manage everything in Darktable. So that works really well for me. There are a lot of good RAW processing options on Linux. If you don't like Darktable, you could try r.i.p. And I think there's a couple others as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, in terms of just raw files, Linux actually has a lot of great options for managing RAWs. I will make the stream posted or unlisted or whatever it is after I finish streaming, if you guys want to go back and watch guitar or whatever. I promised I would do that, so I will do that. What technique do I use to learn stuff effectively? That's interesting. Practice and repetition, I think, would be a big one. That's probably worth making a video about, actually, how to learn stuff. Or maybe I already did make a video about something similar. I might have. I think I made a video sometime last year related to learning. But yeah, practice, repetition, finding an angle on it that works for you. Like, if you're trying to learn something that you're really, like, not interested in and it feels, like, boring, but you have to learn it so that you can progress to the next thing that you're interested in, finding some sort of an angle that can kind of get you interested in it. Because the more motivated you are to learn something, the easier it will be to learn. When did I get into photography? Photography is in my family, so I've been into photography for many, many years. I only really started doing it, you know, with intention. I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago. I got really intentional about my photography, but I've always liked taking pictures and stuff. How long have I been playing guitar for? On and off since like 2020. But when I say on and off, I really mean on and off. I play it every time that I have a reason to use it in music. You might notice on the EP I released, there's a lot of guitar. There's a lot of guitar throughout it, and there's a lot of sounds that are processed guitar. Which I really do because Tim Hecker did that on his first album, and I was like, I gotta recreate this sound. And I didn't end up recreating his sound, even though I tried very hard. And I think I got somewhere with understanding his sound on that first album. But anyways, I'm rambling and I didn't answer the question. I've been playing guitar on and off for like 4 or 5 years, I guess. Analog photography. I have had the opportunity to use some really good analog cameras, but I don't have any myself. But I probably will upgrade to medium format at some point. I'm gonna go medium format digital. So yeah, I'm probably not gonna like get an analog camera, though I don't know. Next time I have the opportunity to use analog, I will relish that opportunity. When was the last time I cried, and what was the reason? That's a good question. Man. I generally cry over really stupid things. Like, something big will happen, and I won't cry over it, but then something really little happens, and I cry over it, because it's like, you know, sometimes stuff builds up, and then it's that, like, straw on the camel's back, where it's just the tipping point. So, the last time I cried about something was probably something really stupid. That's usually how it goes, but it's like, you know, I'm crying at this one thing that happened, but it's really like this, a lot of events leading up to it. A lot of people are not really stupid, they're just lazy. I would agree, I don't think anybody is stupid. I think everybody... I think the way we measure intelligence in people is not a good way of doing it. I feel like a lot of people who have been labeled unintelligent are really intelligent people, and we just don't have a good measurement system. And maybe we don't even need a measurement system. I don't know. But saying this as somebody who has alternatively been called very stupid and very smart, and realistically is somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't say I'm extraordinarily smart, and I wouldn't say I'm extraordinarily stupid. But, you know, back to what you said about people being lazy, I don't think people are necessarily lazy. I think it's less about laziness and more about other sorts of factors that are in the way. A lot of the time I will have the appearance of being lazy about something when it's really some other factor that's in the way, and it's not laziness, it's not that I don't feel like doing it, it's that there's some sort of fear or some sort of worry preventing me from doing it. So, we're all lazy sometimes. That's fair. It's a human trait. You were told that you're supposed to be happy No, you're not supposed to be happy all the time. Whoever told you that is wrong. There's happiness and there's sadness, there's winter, there's summer, there's the sun, there's the moon, everything in balance. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was gonna talk in the stream, but I guess, you know, it ended up being very interesting conversations throughout the stream, so, Are you going to sleep? Have a good night. Yeah, I should probably go pretty soon. I'm not gonna go to bed for a while, but I do have to get some stuff done. What keeps me happy? Starbucks. You can make Starbucks coffee at home. Learn how to do it yourself. You will save money. I'm telling you, learn how to do it yourself, do it at home. You will save money, you will enjoy the process of making it. How many words per minute can I type? 140 on a good day. Who knows their words per minute? I do, because I've done typing tests and I've done typing practice. Fair amount. Also, if you type, like, constantly, then you just become fast at it, like, you know. My age is 140, yes, I am 140 years old. Your bedtime is coming. Have a good night. Yeah, I guess a number of you guys are going to bed, and yeah, I gotta get some stuff done at some point, so I will probably head out here. Alright, yeah. I'm gonna call it for now, but this was very fun. I will probably stream again at some point, now that I'm slightly more comfortable with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I feel like we had a very interesting conversation about all sorts of topics, which was super fun, so, that was fun. Guitar was fun. I will see you guys later. I will try to leave this, like, unlisted or public or whatever it is, but anyways, yep, see ya.